down here in the bottom right on Frost. Sending out a very early probe. He is.
Dynamics Oz.
To make the pylon.
Yeah, we got on the game a bit late. It's a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Faking me out is us.
You can tell by that, well, hold on 1 second. His opponent is going for a 9 pool.
SK Telecom T1 Su.
You can see on Oz's face, that flash that was on his face, the lighting, shows that in the early game he sets location hotkeys and spams between them. So that flash that you see is when he goes back to the more well-lit part of the map, which is his main base. So he probably location hotkeys his main base, his natural, and his third. In fact, I know he does because I've sat next to him in a practice house and watched him do it for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, and people who make those kinds of habits in this game, they're not going to change them. You know, after you do it 12 hours a day, it's not going to change.
Well, Oz is going to go Forge first here, and he's going to be happy about that because against this early pool, he will be able to respond in his main base, set up a cannon there, protect one of his assimilators, and defend. If he tried to go for a Nexus first into a gateway or something like that, he might actually just lose by build orders here. Now, the probe does get spotted by the drone, so already Su knows exactly where his opponent is spawned now, and will be able to rally his Zerglings accordingly. And the probe will also see the links coming down, so he's going to have time to set up that pylon in the main base. The drone is actually here. Is he going to try to hold this with a wall? It looks like it. I think he might barely be able to set one up in time.
Yeah, I think he should be able to, especially with the cannon behind the wall. Just put up a gateway here in this little nook.
Yeah, there you go. As long as he keeps the probe there, I think there's no way the Lings are going to get through. Maybe like 1 or 2 will at the most. And he can even set up a tight wall and then cancel the pylon. I think that's what we'll probably see here. Yep.
There it is. Successfully holds off a 9 pool on Frost.
Well, that works out pretty well. Not like our earliest pool we could have ever seen. If it were a 6 or a 7 pool, would have needed to make the pylon in the main, but in this case, I guess he's fine here. Now he's going to go ahead and start his Nexus after he cancels the pylon. Going to keep that probe there just in case Su tries to say, "Ha, you thought I was done there," and then go in. Not going to happen.
And he sends out another drone here with that 9 pool. It looks like he's just going to go into double expand afterwards. Not a bad idea, especially on a map this big. You got to catch up a bit here.
Well, I have to say, I like Oz's position a lot in this game. By the way, for those wondering about the Oz, I get a lot of questions about this whenever Oz plays, or when TY plays. In this league, of course, you use your individual ID when you play the game. You don't use your team's ID like you would in Pro League. So Oz's ID is only 2 characters, but in Starcraft 2, there's a limit to your ID. You have to have at least 3 characters. And so the ID, the process here that we use at the GSL is to repeat your ID if that happens. So that's why you see Oz, or TY, just to clear that up for anybody. He's not like trying to be funny or anything. Like, it's actually just the way it's done if you have less than 3 characters.
Well, a bit of time here as these players, you know, build up their bases here, especially going for a double expand over there in Su. I'm very curious to see when the Stargate is going to come down, actually.
Yeah. He's going for +1 first, and I think this is not a bad reaction after what has happened early on in this game, because when you go for an early pool like this, you need to balance rebuilding your drones very quickly and also making sure that a pressure doesn't come and hit you so hard that you die. So if Oz can put some pressure on with a few gateways and +1, he might be able to force so many Lings that he even gets further and further ahead in probes and then takes a 3rd base. Because taking a 3rd base on this map is not the hardest map for that as a Protoss player. And here we go, 2 extra gates. We'll see if he even adds a 3rd one.
Yeah, you can definitely see it. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. So he's just going to either try to kill Su and punish him, or make him make so many Lings that he's still further ahead in probes.
And you know, this could actually be hard for Su to hold off here. If it comes off very, very fast, and Su is going for, you know, 3 hatchery here with not a lot of units here. He has no Roach worn up just yet, and he's going to have a late lair as well. We're going to see how he does against this kind of pressure. So far, continuing to just make only drones.
Yeah, he just made 8 more drones. That's a lot of larvae. He's only got 2 larvae available right now. These Stalkers are actually doing a little bit of poke damage, too. And with no Ling speed on the way, they can basically do this forever off creep because they have the same speed as a Zergling, but they're ranged. He's even poking at those drones right there. And here comes that forward pylon, Brennan. This could be nasty. And what's even nastier is if he forces too many units here, He's got that +2 Blink Stalker follow-up available with the Twilight Council here on the main base.
Yep. Heaven actually highlighting that as you said, Twilight Council. Pretty cool there. But a Spine Crawler getting up here. Su knows he's in a bit of trouble. If you're going to go this much pressure, he knows that this kind of build is going to be on the way. He's read Oz, and he knows what kind of build he's up against, so he is not taking it lightly at all. Look at all those links, but still no speed, and the kiting is about to go down really, really hard here. That one Stalker not going down is very important as well.
Yeah, doing a little bit of extra damage there to that Spine Crawler as well. He's forced a lot of links here, 28 more on the way. And I think with a few Zealot Warpins here, could force a lot. Just a few more Zealots and then just hightail it out with that Mothership Core, with that recall. Because, I mean, look at this. He's already just 2 workers down. Oh! Getting a bit too low on the Mothership Core, though. It has to drop a Desperation Time Warp here. Stalker's doing a lot of damage to those links, and like I said before, he's still forced a lot. And if he keeps the Stalkers alive, when that +2 Blink Stalker comes out a little bit later, then he's going to have so much more to work with. And I think he's just going to keep defending this forward location and try to end the game off of this maybe with the commitment to Blink, the extra gates, and no +2 being researched. He actually concedes the point. He concedes the position.
Yeah, very interesting. Doing that right as Blink is coming up and the 2 gateways coming up as well. I feel like, you know, he's forced Su to make so many links here, and he's pretty much equal there on workers, even ahead right now is Oz. Oz knows that he just has to play a bit defensive here, but look at this. Has to put up the force field to defend against all these links. The links not doing too much damage here.
Not sure about this. Is he really going to break through? At what cost? I mean, if the Stalkers blink back, then yeah, the links get a better surround, but this is all of his lings, and that means that now he has no lings and no drones. So this is a pretty scary position for him right now. He did just re-drone, but that means he only has 9 lings. Starts a Roach Warren, but I think he's not quite aware that Oz is ready to hit now with these 6 gateways. A +1 and the Blink Stalker upgrade. Obviously he knows Blink is ready. He's going into +2 and getting a few sentries. I feel like he could have done more here, but it looks like he just wants to wait a little bit longer. Probably even going to add the 3rd Nexus with this. Do this standard +2 Blink Stalker where you add the 3rd Nexus and have some extra chrono boosts, and you can kind of fall back to that 3rd base if you need to.
You know, I don't know. I feel like he had a timing there, but he just didn't go for it.
I feel think like he didn't realize it.
If he was aggressive, he could have definitely done a ton of damage to Su, and I think your point is definitely valid that he didn't really realize it, but still.
Well, he's definitely still going to be attacking here, and after losing that probe, I don't even think he's going to fake the 3rd base anymore. That was possibly even a fake in itself, showing the probe like that. Now he's going to move over here and attack. There's the Nexus. Okay, so he does show that. But I feel like the window that he had is missed, and I think basically the better choice, which I think he realizes as well here, is to just poke and see if he can force even more units to be made, and then transition back at home, because he has the better worker count. Go. Great recall here. Blinks right into the Mothership Core range. Recalls home. He's got that robotics back at home to start a Warp Prism. And he's just going to wait and transition out of this a little bit better. Get that 3rd Nexus up. So many queens here for Su.
Yeah.
He's not messing around in that regard.
He's going to have incredible creep spread here. He's going to have so much energy on those guys for Transfuse as well later on. Maybe if he goes into Ultralisk, that could be very, very good as well. He's going for the melee upgrades here instead of the ranged upgrades. So going to be focusing more on those lings, possibly Ultralisk later on in the game.
I think he's going to, well, he's got a few options here. I think Infestors against the comp that he's up against is a good choice. But you do see a sentry drop sneaking around over here. It's actually going to Swarm Host. Okay, that's interesting. That's another good choice because there's no AoE damage on the map right now. Yeah. I mean, his view, there's probably not going to be any for a while. If he commits to Colossi on this low economy that's, the very late 3rd base, he doesn't have a lot of gases to afford that, but we'll see how this works out. And these Overlords spot this Zealot run by. He's going to send plenty of units home to defend.
Yep, Zealot's coming over here, but at the same time, this guy coming over. But look at all those queens. He says no.
Ooh, I don't even know what. That's like...
Sentry wants to be a hero.
Sentry's like, drop me out, I'll hold them off. I'll do it, I'll take care of everything.
He wanted to go over there and tickle the Swarm Host, say hello, I guess.
Sentry has like more energy than a normal Sentry. He makes like a ton of hallucinated probes and sends the hallucinated probes. I was like, I'll hold them off.
Well, double Stargate here coming. And, he did see the Swarm Host here, so maybe he wants to switch into a bunch of Void Rays. Could definitely catch Su off guard.
I wonder about this. he hasn't sent any hallucination scouts as far as our observer has shown us. I think he has no idea what he's up against, and he's thinking like, well, this is kind of a catch-all. I get Colossi and I have the Stargates, right? I could pretty much defend anything. Has to recall again. Su is just catching too many units here, though. This sentry drop is scary 5 minutes ago, but no longer at this point with this many queens.
Yeah.
He force fields the ramp here and has a ton of warpins, but there's already plenty of units in the main base here. If he sends the queens back, I don't think he's going to have too big of a problem against this.
Should be microing the roaches with the speed, but look at this. He's going to surround the Colossus and the rest of the units back here. There's nothing to defend for Oz right now, trying to take a fourth base while this attack is going on.
Well, it seems to be a bit of a, just Oz is kind of all over the place, and Su is just going to walk over his base here. Now at this point there's another force field going down, so he's got all these units in the main base, but I don't think Su, quite frankly, really cares about this all too much because he's going to start killing everything that Oz has with the units he has here. And if Oz keeps warping in units at home, that's units he doesn't have at home to defend. Or he warps in at Su's home, that is to say. He doesn't have units at home to defend against the attack that Su sends out. These spine crawlers are going up here, and he can't force field forever. I know that you might think so, but eventually he is going to run out of energy. If he keeps warping in more sentries, that's less gas here. This third base is down, and queens are now killing his wall with a few locusts.
Third base is down. Fourth base is up, but not mining, because he can't get probes over there. He's just continuing to go over here and try to do damage, but I think it's eventually going to be held off, even with drones and the spine crawlers behind there. And his base is going to be wrecked by the locusts. There it is, GG.
What a funny, weird game there. Su starting things off with an early pool. Solid defense from Oz. Good transition into the pressure, but he didn't quite do what he wanted to do. Things were just a little bit off with his counterattack, and then he killed a bunch of Lings. I mean, Su made a ton of Lings, and he had the choice to either right away take a third base and hold that, or hit the timing really fast with his Blink Stalkers because Su was low on drones and lost all of his Lings. And he didn't really commit to either one. He kind of poked a little bit with his Stalkers and tried to take a third base, and Su just had the better tech there coming out with a Swarm Host.
Yeah, I mean, Su is definitely very well prepared for that. I love the fact that he took that fourth base very late. He knew, he kind of like had Oz's number the entire game. I feel it's like that's part of the reason why he was just like sitting back in his chair like, oh, this is easy, you know, whatever. He kind of knew what Oz was going for, just trying to play super late, trying to get all these different techs up, the Stargates going up at the same time, and he had an Overlord in the base at some point. I think he got a view on those Stargates, and at some point he was like, I can take a fourth base and actually just attack you.
Yeah.
And you're going to go for some harass in my main base, but I'm not really going to care because I'm just going to go and kill you instead.
That's what he decided to do. So that ends our first best of three. We're going to go into San versus Maru after a quick commercial.